This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. Folks, here we are in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada on October 26, 2021. And getting into the fall here, leaves are changing colors, but nothing that some things don't change, and that is the talent of the guest I have on here today. Yes, he was featured in the band Stillwater in Almost Famous, and glad to have him on here today, the drummer of the band. Folks, I give you the awesomely talented Johnny Fedevich. How do you do, Johnny?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Oh, glad to have you. Glad to have you, you know? Yeah, looking at your background there in your studio, you got a lot of instruments back there.
Oh yeah, it's actually too much and it needs to be cleaned up. I've got tons of gear. But I've been doing it for 35 years, so you amass a lot of percussion instruments and guitars and a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, I see some guitars hanging on the wall.
mhm.
You love the drums.
Oh
Drums are
yeah.
great. I gotta say, they always say drummers don't get enough attention. That is true because I'll tell you, you notice a song when drums aren't in there.
Well, yeah, you know that, and every great band has an equally great drummer. You can't have a great
Yeah,
band without, equally great drummers. So
I
absolutely.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. No, no, you got a lot of information. See a little keyboard piece there in the corner.
Oh yeah, that's I perform with a version of the band Asia, and he gave me that to do some songwriting. So I haven't really I haven't used it that much lately, but because I've been on the road for we started up working a lot now, being on the road and stuff. So anyway, I just got home last night, and here we are.
Oh, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. So you performed with Asia?
Yeah, so John Payne was that's the singer that replaced John Wetton in Asia back in, oh God, it's been years now because John Wetton has passed. But so I work with John Payne in
Hmm.
Asia, and we travel all over. And I work with another artist by the name of Michael Cavanaugh, who that's who I was just on the road with. We did 8 shows in 10 days,
Oh,
all on
wow.
the kind of southern United States, Texas, and then we went up through Branson, Missouri, and Topeka, Kansas, and that's what I just got home from. That was we haven't been out like that for a long time, so that was the first time we got back into playing, and we're performing at some performing arts centers
Hmm.
with him. So anyway,
How was it like with COVID and everything? Everything.
everything's starting to open up again, but a
Hmm.
lot of venues, they want you to wear a mask, or they suggest wearing a mask, and a
Hmm.
lot of venues, they want you to be vaccinated and proof of vaccination, and proof of COVID test. So negative COVID test. So a lot of people don't want to do that. They're like, you know what, I'm going to wait till it's opened fully so I don't have to deal with all that. So some venues there was a lot of people, some venues there was it was a little light, but at least the venues were open and we're able to perform and stuff for them. So overall it was successful. So it was really
Yeah.
good.
I'm
So
double
yeah.
vaxxed. I did it so that I could travel. Had it
Mm-hmm.
not been for that, I might not have because
Yeah.
I work as a cleaner.
Right.
So, and I mostly work at night when there's nobody around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did it so I could travel because I'm
Well,
going to go.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I did the same thing to get into your country because I have property in Quebec. And when they
Hmm.
opened the border August 9th, I was like, well, the only way I can get up there to see my cabin, because it's
Hmm.
an off grid place that I hadn't seen in a year and a half, I was like, well, I'm going to have to get vaccinated and get up there. And long story short, got vaccinated, went up there, cabin's fine, everything's great, had a great time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you. It's your choice. Whatever you want to do. If you want to get vaccinated, you should get vaccinated. If you don't want to, you have a choice. So
I agree. I know people that aren't vaccinated and I don't hound them about it. And as
yeah,
long as they don't hound me about it, I'm fine.
yeah,
I know when they come out with the booster right now, I think it's for people in care homes and stuff like that. But I think I'm done getting poked with needles. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah,
it's like if I start, like, when's it going to end? What after the booster go be a fourth, a fifth, a sixth? Like stop,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree.
yeah. So I got my flu shot. I get that every year, so I did that. But it's kind of like, enough's enough. I
Yeah,
don't know how this thing got started. Get rid of it. That's
yeah.
what I say to
How's that?
that. Yeah,
Right. Absolutely.
yeah. But I would like to get a little bit of your background and how you became a musician. Did you always want to be a drummer?
Um, Interestingly enough, through my public school system, I started on trumpet
Oh,
because like in the
nice.
fourth, fifth grade, you'd have the high schoolers come down to the elementary school and play all the instruments to kind of generate an interest into joining the band in high school or the band in your school system and the whole music program. So back then, that's what they did. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll play trumpet. So I got a cornet, which is a little smaller version of a trumpet, and started on that, learned how to read music. And then throughout the years, my brother started playing guitar and I started getting into rock and roll music and stuff. And I was always thinking, oh, my brother played guitar. And I started looking in like, oh, I love the drums, man. So my brother would play guitar and I'd play drums. We'd have a band, that whole thing. That's all. It was always the like impetus to get going and stuff. And then the drumming thing just got more and more. I got more and more involved with it, but it was always about music. I love rock and roll music. I love different kinds of music, and that was what pushed me into drumming and learning more about drumming and stuff. It was always the music first and then the drumming. So throughout high school, I played in the public school band and whatnot, and then I started getting into meeting other musicians and jamming, in basements and stuff. And then my mother was in our church group, and she was in this like folk group, and she was like, my son plays drums, we should incorporate him into our folk group. And that was one of my first gigs was in a Catholic church on the altar playing my drum kit. So
Mm-hmm.
and I met guys from that, and then it just started networking. And I lived in northeastern Ohio at the time, and I just met tons of musicians, and that was it. It just started going and going and going. And I don't know, I was just really fueled by meeting other musicians and wanting to get better and wanting to play clubs and that whole thing, being successful at it. So
Yeah. Well, music is great, especially where it takes you. But I watched this last night in my player, and what a great movie. Almost Famous, and of course, uh, you play the drummer. That I gotta say, they often say you're the guy with the one line in the movie,
yeah,
and I got. I laugh every time I see it when you
yeah,
guys are up in the plane and there's electrical storm, there's bad turbulence, and everybody is like yelling at each other and making their confessions and this and that. And you have the punchline where you say, I'm gay, and then
uh,
automatically the plane starts going normal.
yeah. It's yeah. That was the, and I did use an expletive, by the way, prior to that.
Okay,
I did say, can I say it?
if you want to.
Fuck it, I'm gay. So that's,
Oh, you did. That's right. Yeah.
but
No, you can
and
swear on here. That don't bother me.
yeah, but that when we did the table reading for that, it was scripted as just I'm gay, and I was like, I added "fuck it"
Well,
to
it
that
worked.
only because, and Cameron Crowe, the director, he's like, oh my gosh, that works, that totally works. So and I was like, all right, well, let's use it. So we did it both ways. We did it without it and with it, and he kept the expletive. So
Well, I've got the bootleg cut.
yeah, That's interesting. So I think that one is more, there's more, that's different than the theatrical release. There's more character development in that. There's more scenes. There's more
Mhm.
live band scenes and stuff. So that's the one that Cameron wanted to release. That one. So
This is great. Yeah. And
yeah,
I've interviewed Zach Ward twice, who's
yeah.
the
I
person
remember
that.
Zach. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I had Zach Ward on here a couple times. It was cool seeing him, like a head of hair and big beard. Like I'm so
Yeah,
used to him, like in Postal and A Christmas Story, you know.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
But he spoke well of being in this, you know.
It was a fun time. I mean, that was a long shoot. It was like almost 6 months.
Hmm.
Almost 6 months of my life back then. So yeah.
This film has a lot of meaning for me too. There's a couple of scenes in this movie that really define it for me. Number one is when Frances McDormand, of course, who plays the mom of the young Cameron Crowe, like
Mhm,
journalist in the film, calls, and she ends up with the Billy Cudrup's Russell character of the
mhm,
band on the
mhm.
phone, and he's being all smart to her and stuff, and she kind of puts him
In his
in his
place, huh?
place,
Yeah.
and he comes away and he says, "Your mom kind of freaked me out," but there was actually kind of the way he says it. It's like he's kind of saying, "Your mom really cares about you,"
Yeah.
you know. That's kind of cool. I like that scene. It gets talked about a lot, but boy, it's got a nice deep meaning. The way he reacts to it, it's like, man, you got somebody that really cares about you back there.
Right.
That
Right.
it really struck him. The other scene that really grabs me, and as a podcaster, it's like I never ask personal questions of people. I like to allow people to promote their either whether it's music, movies, or what have you. And sometimes it's hard to get interviews because people have been screwed over so many times, you know. One of the things I loved about Almost Famous is how the journalist, the honest journalist, gets to be the good guy. I love the moment when Russell is trying to reconnect with the Kay Hudson character, and she gives him an address, and he shows up at this house,
Right.
and Frances McDormand opens the door, and he thinks it's Kate Hudson's home,
Sure. Sure.
and it's actually the young journalist. And he goes in there. He's a little confused. You got Zoe Deschanel there, and as the sister, and I love what transpired there, and the fact that they actually sat down in his bedroom, and he finally got his interview.
Right.
And there was something so honest and so beautiful about that scene, and a grand level of respect.
Sure.
I found myself smiling at the end of this
Mhm.
movie.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. It's the way the whole film was shot, the way the lighting was, the scenes, everything was just, it seemed perfect.
Yep.
It was a good, and it encapsulated music and film very well. One of my favorite scenes was when we're going in New York City, and the way we're traveling on the bridge, and we're in the limousine, and Misty Mountain Hop, I think, is playing Led Zeppelin, and
Uh-huh.
the way the music and that scene just coexist at the same time was just perfect. And I'm nudging William Miller, the journalist guy, because we think he got lucky or something, and I give him that look, and I don't know, that's one of my favorite scenes. And it because it's like camaraderie there too, with the band members, and we're having fun. And anyway,
I loved it. And of course,
yeah,
it opens up with shots of all of these albums and whatnot. It's set, of course, in 1973. I would have been 1 years old in 1973.
yeah,
You
right,
know?
yeah,
Yep. So I grew up on a lot of this. I think the only band you guys kind of missed, and it would have been coming just into fruition in 1973, is AC/DC, you know?
yeah, right. That would have been a really early version. Yeah,
Yep. But wow, they captured the look. They I enjoyed almost like a history lesson there, but and going on the tours. It takes a lot to let somebody just make a good movie, and because you see a lot of studios meddling and this and that. But when you got, Cameron Crowe has done it many times where he's went out and he's done a great film. I always remember he was the one that went undercover for Rolling Stone for Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is one of
yeah,
my favorite movies.
yeah, absolutely.
And I see a lot of that here,
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
a lot of that here. What was it like to work with Cameron Crowe?
Um, well, just to be in his presence, with the knowledge that he's had with interviewing all these bands and working as a journalist throughout his life, I felt like, wow, man, there's so much information right here, and so much knowledge this guy has, um, as far as musicians and Led Zeppelin and some of my favorite musicians and drummers and whatnot. And so just to have him talking to me on a personal level, I felt it was great. You know what I mean? I can't say anything bad about Cameron. He was very generous, and to take a guy like me who I'm not an actor, I'm a musician. I auditioned for the film. He saw something in me that he liked, and then we hit it off. So I'm honored to be in his presence and be asked to be on the film and all that. I mean, because he could have had a lot of name musicians and
Hmm.
named actors do my role, and I do know some of the guys that audition. I'm like, wow, you didn't pick him, okay? So um, working with Cameron was great, and we would get together if we were on location. He would be down in the lounge or down in the restaurant, and we'd be sitting around at a table talking music and talking about different things. Very approachable. That's the whole thing about my experience on the film was that everyone was so approachable. There was not one person that was like, "Don't talk to me," or I could go talk to Kate, I could go talk to Jason Lee, Billy, just go right up from knock on their door, whatever, knock on their trailer. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
Just not
No
during
one
a
was. Mhm.
just
Yeah,
not during a sex scene, but
yeah, no, exactly. I stayed away from those, absolutely. But
because
no, everyone was totally cool. No one had egos, man. Everyone was great. The crew, the cast. So it was a great experience for me because I'd never been, I was been a musician my whole life up until then, and still am. But I would never thought about doing something completely opposite, which was acting and stuff. So
I just found it interesting when um, the journalist comes to the door and Kay Hudson answers, and obviously there's sex going on.
yeah,
So the guy could go away, go away, go away.
right.
And then he closes the door and he takes the do not disturb and turns it around. I
Yeah.
can just
Oh
imagine
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's right. Ah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you like it? Did you like it how he kept calling, William Miller the enemy?
The
Oh, the
enemy.
enemy.
Yeah.
Jason Lee's character would say that a lot.
I like that too because he kept using the word the.
Yeah.
But hi, the enemy.
Right.
And I get that too, because journalists are often viewed as the enemy.
Right.
You know, I get that, and I've seen it happen many times. So when you get somebody who wants to do an honest piece, it's hard to come by.
Yeah.
Yep. So this had so much good stuff in it, and another great moment in the film. And every time this guy is on screen, he steals it. God rest his soul, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, he of course he's kind of like the mentor of I gotta bring up the actor who played the journalist because I'm gonna keep calling him the
Patrick Fugit.
yeah, because he was so good in this movie, you
Hmm.
know.
He
Yeah, I keep
was.
yep. Okay. Yeah, every time Philip Seymour Hoffman is on screen, it's just golden. And you know, and he's watching him through the window at that radio station, watching him do his thing, and it's like, I want to be like him. And then he's walking with I love the bus stop scene, you know. Do you want to get me to give you a drive? No.
Right,
Next time the next time you see him in a restaurant, it's like I guess he
right,
relented.
right, right.
he, he relented. I like the moments of reality that he tries to sprinkle in. And it's like, you know, don't be try to become their friends. You'll be disappointed, you know.
Yeah,
Everybody's good.
totally.
And there's some truth behind that too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met some people, musicians that I've revered, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh man, he didn't like talking to me. That's a bummer. You know what I mean? I did his cruise gig, and I met the drummer for Big Country, and I probably whatever. I was like so honored to meet him. Like he was one of my favorite drummers, and it was right during the whole pandemic thing. He didn't want to shake my hand. He didn't want to give me a fist bump. He didn't want to do anything. I was like, oh man, I just wanted to talk to you about drumming and recording and stuff. But anyway, that
I
happens.
remember Big Country.
Yeah,
They started out as small country and they went big country.
I guess so. I guess so. Once you have a hit song.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, before we go into more almost famous, I wanted to know who were some of your musical influences growing up?
Oh man, so right when I started getting attracted to drumming and that whole thing, it was probably Ringo Starr, because my dad and played music. My family played music in the house, which is so important as a young kid and being influenced by stuff. And then having an older brother and sister, they would play music and vinyl records and stuff, and everything from David Bowie to to, like I said, the Beatles, and then my brother would play Rush, and I initially got into Neil Peart a lot, and then but also on the punk rock scene, like Clem Burke from Blondie, Tom Petty, Tom Petty's drummer Stan Lynch, Keith Moon of the Who. He was so flamboyant, and I was like, God, that is awesome. Um, Drummers like that, Gary, what was his last name, from the Knack, My Sharona beat. Come on, that beat is just,
My Sharona, yep.
come on, dude. It starts with that's awesome. So
That's how that
those kind of things attracted me to drumming, and right then MTV was coming into play, where they played music videos, and I was like,
mhm.
you could see bands and stuff performing and live videos. So those were some of the artists that kind of got me into it. And then I started taking lessons and being exposed to other great drummers, like, jazz drummers, and Art Blakey, and Roy Haynes and stuff like that. So those are some of the drummers that started influencing me as far as wanting to take it up seriously, and looking at them like, I want to be like that. I want to do that. That guy's great, So, and coming up in the early '80s and stuff, or mid '80s, I guess, early '80s, mid '80s, you had exposure to a lot of rock and roll videos and stuff, like I said, on MTV. It's like, so that helps. And then nowadays, kids and stuff have like YouTube and stuff. Everything's available right on YouTube. You can learn how to do anything on there and learn how to play and stuff. But back then, you just like watch, like, what's he doing? It's like, well, my hand goes over here and this hand goes here, and what kind of drum fill is that, and what kind of drum setup does he have and stuff. So that was all fun stuff, man, back then, for sure.
I grew up in the MTV age, and yeah, and I've still got some vinyl records here too. The
Oh, I
vinyl's
got
making a comeback.
Oh yeah, I got tons of it. I can't believe what they're asking for some of this vinyl. I go into a record store sometimes on the road. I'm like, You want $25 for that vinyl record? Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, it has come back, hasn't it?
there's some records as much as $40.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I
Yeah, yeah.
went to a flea market and I found a whole lot of vinyl.
Mhm.
And I ended up buying a lot. Like I found Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare, and
Yeah.
I've got every single album the Cars have done. I love the Cars.
Awesome. Oh yeah, man.
I
I
love the
love them
Cars.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have all their output as well in some form. Absolutely. I love
You
those
want to
guys.
hear great drum riff? There's they did a song called Maybe Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that has got a really great drum beat in it. And I wish you knew that.
What's your favorite Cars record, you think?
Oh, that's a good
Is it hard to
question.
say?
My favorite Cars song, I think, is Cruiser.
Okay.
Cruiser. Yep.
That's a great one. My
Yep.
my favorite car song is Touch and Go, but Panorama is one of my favorite records from them.
I think Cruiser
So
was on Panorama,
I think it
I believe.
is. I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think you're right.
And
But
I
Touch and Go has that great drum groove, and it's in an odd time, and it's got that off time keyboard. It's so awesome. So awesome.
yep. And I'm not sure whether no, maybe Baby might have been on Shake It Up. I'm not sure.
I have that one on vinyl. So
Yeah,
I'll
that's got a
listen to
great it's like da, 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 you know,
that.
and I'm probably botching that,
Mhm.
but it has a great drum beat in it. I love the Cars. So I've got a lot of vinyl. I've got some Pat Benatar, Cyndi Lauper, Nina, 99 Red
That's funny you
Balloon.
said. I mean, you must have been thinking in my head. You must have been able to telepathically, because I was thinking about the drummer from Pat Benatar. I was going to bring it up, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of his name is Myron Grombacher, and he was a major fixture in her band during that whole MTV craze. He played this huge, cool drum kit with like Japanese writing on it, and had
Mm-hmm.
these like big drums, and he was always standing up and playing. Yeah, he was yeah. So
Yep.
he was a great influence too.
Let's not forget the drummer from Def Leppard who did it with a one arm.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Initially he had two. And
Yep.
I mean, not to make light of it, but no, those first couple, and those, not a lot of people know those first couple Def Leppard records that were more really rock, really guitar oriented, which were my favorite. Like High and Dry is one of my favorite Def Leppard records. Then they went more of the singer songwritery, uh, pop hits kind of Def Leppard, which
Mm-hmm.
were very successful at that. Yeah. But,
Yeah. No, I love traveling up through that era.
yeah.
You know, growing up with that, and but yeah, vinyl has made a massive comeback. I don't have a turntable, but I do have some records here, and
Yeah.
I just grabbed them when I saw them there because even especially with the Cars, the album covers were great.
So awesome.
Like there's that great moment at the beginning of Almost Famous, you know, where his sister is going to be going off. She's going to become a stewardess, you know, and she
Right.
gives her brother a hug. And she says, "I left something under your bed." Because he pulls out this case, there's all these vinyl, and you could see him kind of flipping through and just touching the artwork. You know, that is lost a lot today.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, Cameron wanted to put that in there to expose people, I think, what it meant to like actually get something big in front of, and as when we were kids, we'd like study that vinyl record and flip it over, and like what, and then, oh, who, these are the name of the songs, and this is the guy that produced it. Oh, who's that guy? And then you find out that producer, he produced something else, and then you start like just getting this knowledge from this big square piece of cardboard that has writing and pictures on it, and that was the shit, man. That was the shit.
I
So,
remember, I remember
so
so well.
do you have CDs as well then?
I
Because
do,
yeah, me too.
I
I
do.
finally I finally got rid of my cassettes though. I was like, you know what? I gotta start cleaning out some of this stuff. So I ended up getting rid of a lot of my cassettes, but
I was never like I had cassettes, but
Mhm.
they always freaking got chewed up in the machines
Right.
and stuff like that. It's just
The
I was
thing with
not a
cassette, yeah, the thing with cassettes though, as a musician, when you're playing in bands and writing music, it was so easy to put a cassette in and push record to get your idea right then and there. I mean, you can
hmm
do it now on your phone, which is great too,
hmm
but back then it's like we had all these cassettes of demos and stuff and that we listened back to on our tape recorder. And it's like, how can I make this song better if you're, if you're writing music, or how do we sound like, oh my gosh, I sped that tempo up, way up. That's how we learned that back in the day. So on tape. So
Yeah. Well, what a great era to grow up in.
no kidding, man.
I was born in 1972. So
Okay.
I get asked every so often, do you remember anything from the 70s? And yeah, and musically speaking, I think one of my first favorite songs growing up was from a Canadian band named Trooper. The song
Oh
was
yeah.
We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in kindergarten, there was a video that we were kids and the parents were invited to see where
Okay.
it showed slides of the kids, I remember this so well because there
That's
was a
awesome.
close-up shot of me wearing a hat that had all these colors on it, and the song that was playing was "We're Here for a Good Time, Not a Long Time,"
Dig it.
and I always remember that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, there's so many great Canadian bands. I mean, just oh man, I was just influenced by a lot of those and listened to a lot of them. But of course, Rush. But then you had Honeymoon Suite, and you
Yeah,
had Saga, and one of my favorite independent rock, Sloan. Are you guys familiar with Sloan?
I'm familiar with Sloan. I had the lead singer for no, Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch on here.
Oh, I got two of their first two vinyl records. I have their records, man. And I actually saw those guys in an arena opening for like Scorpions or something. Oh yeah, man. I love
Love that
I think
song, Hey Operator.
Hey Operator. Monkey Bars. Remember that song?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I love those guys.
Yep.
Well, if they need a drummer, tell them to call me. I know all their songs.
Oh yeah. There
Triumph,
was
remember Triumph? And
Triumph, yes,
God.
Oh,
I'm trying to think of some.
follow your heart.
Uh,
Triumph. Yep.
I'm trying to think of some more obscure bands up there that are recently.
Glass Tiger.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Uh,
Anyway.
Yeah, I remember back in the early 80s, and I remember this so well. There was a compilation album come out on Canadian bands called
Okay.
Electric North.
Okay.
I remember that album so well,
Wow.
because I had the Payolas was on it. They
All
had
right.
yep, they had April Wine, which is the
Of
loudest
course.
concert I ever been to was April Wine.
Oh my God, that Nature of the Beast album was one of my favorite. It
hmm
had Just Between You and Me on it, but then the album before that was called Harder Faster, I think, by April Wine. Oh my God.
hmm
That drummer,
Yep.
Jerry Mercer, I think that was the name of the drummer. And he had a huge kit, played tons of toms. Awesome. That was the greatest. That was greatest.
Yeah. Coney Hatch was on there, and you had Brian Adams and Luba, and you had
Yeah.
all kinds of great Canadian bands on there. And also the movie, and nobody talks about this, the movie Nine and a Half Weeks has
Yeah.
a lot of Canadian artists
Oh,
on
I
the
didn't know that.
soundtrack.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
gee, there's Corey Hart, there's
Okay.
Luba, there's they come immediately to mind, but I know there's others, because
I wonder why that was.
I don't know, but
Maybe the music director maybe was Canadian or something, wanted to push some Canadian acts or something. I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll tell you, I remember that well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Canadian, because that's where I discovered Eurasian Eyes by Corey Hart, and like every band has their sound too. Like I remember like Huey Lewis and the News did a lot of great stuff with saxophones and harmonicas,
Right.
in their
Horn
music.
section. Yeah.
Yeah, I could just imagine what they've been like in concert.
Hey man, do you guys? How about Big Wreck?
I don't know that.
Oh my gosh, they're a cool Canadian act. I don't know if they must be from Toronto or something, but they're a great Canadian act too. Big Wreck. They've been around that. Song.
Um, ever The Pursuit of Happiness. I remember
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Hard to Laugh. Yep. One of my favorite solo Canadian artists was Lee Aaron.
Lee Aaron. Okay,
Lee Aaron. She sang Metal Queen.
nice.
Yeah,
Right.
if you haven't heard that, that
I'll
was
check
from
that
her
out.
1984 album.
Okay.
And it has her
I
on the
remember, yeah, I remember Pursuit of Happiness. I have that CD.
yeah,
That was a great one.
yeah. The first concert I ever attended was Glass Tiger. That was in the late 80s. And
Okay,
I'm working on getting Alan Frew, the lead singer, on here for
cool.
an interview. Yep. I saw
I, my,
Glass.
my first concert was Van Halen.
Oh wow. I
And I
remember
remember, yeah,
I
I remember having
remember
to ask my dad, my brother was going to take me, but I was like, and I had to ask my dad, can I, because, back then there was Arena Rock. It's like, that's crazy, crazy shit back then. And I was a young kid. And I remember like cutting out the newspaper clipping, Van Halen, and asking my dad. And he was like, yeah, sure, as long as your brother takes you. I'm like, okay, great, I'm going.
you know what? One of my most memorable Christmases is and I remember this well. Um I got 3 cassettes for Christmas. One was the original Cars album with Good Times Roll and My Best Friend's Girl and stuff like that
Awesome.
on it.
Awesome.
And love that album. And I got Rockin' with the Hits, which was a compilation album.
Mhm.
And I got Van Halen's 1984 album with
Okay.
the kid that looks like the angel smoking the
Smoking.
cigarette on it. Um, I remember that so well. I remember the music video for Jump. My mom could not stand that video. She'd see David Lee Roth crawling on the stage. She's like, "Ah, what a sleazebag," you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm
One of the
like,
great one of the greatest drum performances, and I don't think Alex Van Halen gets enough accolades. Hot for Teacher. That is such a great
"Oh
drum performance.
wow,
Such a great
yes,
drum performance. And I spent many days trying to figure out what he was doing, and of course that's double bass, double bass drumming, and I'm like in a shuffle, and
yep,
it took me. I was like, I gotta learn how to do that. So yeah,
yeah,
he's one of my favorite drummers, man, for sure. But
yeah." Wow, what was it like seeing them in concert?
as a kid back then, oh my god, I was just like one of my first concerts in a huge arena, huge stage, all those amps, speakers, huge drum kit. I remember the
Hmm.
drum kit vividly. It was like this striped, black and white striped drum kit, like 4 bass drums, huge, just monstrous. And I was just blown away, totally blown away. Yeah,
Oh,
it was awesome.
absolutely. Yeah,
It was the greatest.
yeah, absolutely. You know what? Um, Richard Fincher, or not Richard Fincher, why is his name escaping me right now? Just give me a second here
Sure, man.
because this is music related and I want to make sure I get everything correct here. Richard Linklater. Why was I mean, Dazed and Confused had a great soundtrack,
I
but
did.
I want to talk about what I consider his best movie, my favorite movie, and I saw this movie 9 times in the theater,
Wow.
was Everybody Wants Some. Did you see
Okay.
that?
No.
See it.
Okay. You got it.
They say it's a spiritual sequel. And yes, it's named after the Van Halen song, Everybody Wants Some.
Okay.
Um,
I'm writing it down.
it's a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, but it's not a sequel in terms of characters because it doesn't have the same characters.
Okay.
Because Dazed and Confused was set in 1976.
Mhm.
This one here is set in that last weekend before college,
Okay.
before, and it involves a group of young people just before that first Monday of classes.
Okay.
And you mentioned the knack. It
Yeah.
starts out with My Sharona playing as the guy's driving towards the college he's supposed to go to.
Okay.
You want to talk about a great soundtrack?
All right.
The movie ends with Good Times Roll with the Cars. You've
Gotcha.
got Pat Benatar's in there with um, Heartbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got two Van Halen songs in here. Everybody Wants Some and oh, I want to get this right too, because I want to definitely get this right because this had a great soundtrack album. You want to hear some great music and
It's funny because all those songs start out with a great drumming intro.
yep,
They all start with like Heartbreaker, and then My Sharona, right?
yep,
And then Everybody Wants Them starts out with that tribal thing, right?
yep.
They
There's
all start with
Everybody
great
Wants
drum
Some. Yep.
intros. It comes great drum intros, man.
I gotta find the extended because there were two. Okay, here we go. Because I know there were two Van Halen songs. There's Everybody. Oh yeah, Ain't Talk About Love.
Oh
That's
yeah,
in there. Yep.
yep, absolutely.
Because the night Patti Smith group.
Because the night belongs to
Oh wow, Whip It by Devo is in there.
Perfect.
They even have some country stuff in there. Because they go to different bars. You get like Driving My Life Away by Eddie Rabbit. Like I
Oh
remember so many
yeah,
of that. Yeah. They've got so much great music in
cool.
this movie. You got Joe Welch, you got Frank Zappa, you got Blondie,
Nice.
Foreigner.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, you got so much great music in here, and of course ends with Good Times Roll by the Cars. Yeah, it's about that last weekend, but this follows these young people. I enjoyed that movie, and I went 9 times to the theater, and I wasn't planning to do that.
mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I might have seen a movie maybe 4 times at the theater. I saw The Exorcist 5 times, but I was one when that came out, so that was 5 times stretched out whenever it played midnight screenings. But
Right.
but what would happen was with Everybody Wants Some, I would go home. I remember after the fourth time, I was like, okay, I can wait for the Blu-ray. I would go to work the next day, and all I would be thinking about is that movie. And I would go back
It,
the next night and see it again. And I would always say the same thing. Okay, I'm done. This is good. And I'd be back again. And I've had people say, how you go to a movie 9 times?
yeah.
A lot of it was the characters. A lot of it was the atmosphere because it actually looked 1980.
Gotcha.
And a lot of it was the music.
Yeah.
Like when he's going into the college and you hear the song Gold, which features uh, oh boy, I gotta give these bands a proper. Gold by John Stewart and Stevie Nicks playing in the
Okay.
background,
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah, yeah. I know that song.
yeah,
Yeah.
or you get Driver's Seats by Sniffin' Tears playing, which I associate more with Boogie Nights, but still,
Yeah. Right.
it. Oh yeah, and I would hear that, and it's like it would just take me back somewhere.
Right.
Music can do that. Music can really make a movie. Yeah.
Like yeah, and that's what I think in Almost Famous, Cameron did
Yep.
a superb job at that. And in all his films that he does, he connects music because he's such a music person
Yep.
to the film. Yeah,
Well, this
absolutely.
one here felt like you were actually seeing what would be like on tour with one of these bands and sitting
Yeah,
in,
absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I gotta ask about some of your co-stars in this. Of course, You had well, Patrick uh Fugit, you say his last name was?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yes.
see him on there, but I've never seen that last name before. But
Mhm.
what he's all grown up now. What was he
Yeah.
like?
Back then he was super, he was just becoming a teenager and stuff. So he would be able to shoot scenes, and then he'd still have to do his school work. So he had
Hmm.
on-set teacher and stuff and schooling and all that. And they're pretty strict about sticking to all the guidelines when you have child actors on set and whatnot. So, but he was he had an open mind, and he was taking everything in. You could tell, but he took Cameron's coaching, took it well, and delivered a product that Cameron wanted. So he was open to it.
And of course, you know, you get the bandmates. Of course, people remember Billy Crudup and Jason Lee.
Yeah.
You know
And
what?
Mark Kozlik, plays the bass
Yeah.
player, Larry
Yes.
Fella. So that Mark is the whole reason why I got the audition. So Mark and I grew up together in
Hmm.
Northeastern Ohio, and we were in
Okay.
bands. We were in bands together back when we were teenagers, you know. And one of those gigs that I did at that church got me into, somehow I met Mark, and I was like, "You're awesome. We should get a band together." So we had a band together back in the day. So come 20 years later or so, Mark's a illustrious musician and stuff, and he was I had ran back into him in LA doing something, and we reconnected, and Mark was like, "Johnny, I'm doing this, I'm auditioning for this film, and they asked me about other people, and I gave them your name, so I don't know if they're going to call you or not. The casting director may call you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't act." But, you know, and so I was like, "Oh, whatever. That's cool. Thank you for doing that, Mark." You know, and then, so I go home, and like 2 weeks later, sure enough, casting director calls me, and I'm like, "What? Yeah. Would you mind coming out and auditioning for this film? Mark gave us your name, and blah, blah, blah. Cameron would like to meet you." And I'm like, "Okay." That's how it happened. I
Well,
just,
you know what? I bet you're
someone
glad you did, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone referred me. I went out and auditioned, and it fell in my lap. I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm going to do this for a little bit." So yeah, simple
Yeah.
as that. Man. You never know. You just never know. The timing is everything. You know, if Mark wouldn't have been in LA when I was doing a gig there, I don't know if I would have met him and, you know, reconnected and all that. So it's remarkable. So
And this movie won some awards too. Kate
mhm.
Hudson won the Oscar, and she's so good in this movie. You know, she's like that innocent, tragic character who Patrick understands, and I love the connection between those two characters and
Yeah,
how he's um like when you're on the plane, you know, and she says she was your biggest fan and you guys
right,
threw her away, you know.
right. Took
But
advantage of her, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I felt so sad for her when she, you know, it's her birthday and the guy takes the cake and he says, "Too bad there's no more room on the plane." And I'm like, I probably would have turned and told the guy to go shove it up his ass, you
yeah,
know,
right,
you
right.
know. But nonetheless, you know, you could see that look on her face, you know, and
I know,
she has
right?
this way of trying to spin it where she's got a tear in her eye, but she tries to smile it off and asks, "Does
Yeah,
anybody else want any cake?" And Patrick is looking at her like he gets it, you know. It's
yeah,
like, wow, you know, look how you're being treated, you know. And talk about working with Kate Hudson in that movie.
yeah. Kate was so energetic. Obviously, she was younger then, you know, and just full of energy. So cute, you know. Another person that was like, she would come up to me and ask me something, you know. She wasn't standoffish at all. I mean, her mother, Goldie Hawn, you know,
Yeah.
was an awesome person to meet too.
Is
But
Goldie
Kate was,
Hawn there?
She was there on set a couple times, and we did a thing where I was able to meet her at. We had the band did this rehearsal studio thing, and we'd get together and play along to track and learn, just do the whole moves on stage, because Mark and I were actual musicians, but Billy and Jason, they weren't real. They don't know how to. They weren't in bands and stuff. Jason was a little bit of a musician. He played guitar and stuff, but Billy, never. He wasn't a musician. So we got that whole vibe down by hanging out and playing together. So on one night, we had all these people come in just to see us interact live with a live audience and see how we would respond to that. And Goldie and Kurt Russell were in the audience. I remember looking over and I'm playing. I'm like, oh my God, there's Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. That's awesome. Stuff like that,
Snake Plissken and Private Benjamin.
Yeah, totally. Totally. But no, Kate was sweet, and we'd be on set and hanging out together, the whole cast. This is a big cast, and everyone was just open, man, and no one held back anything. And everyone, like I said, everyone was approachable. No one was like not talking or don't talk to me, No one had any egos at all. It was great.
Yeah, you had some nice groupies on that film, like Anna Paquin. Yep. And Firuza Balk, excuse me. Yeah, and Beju Phillips.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And of course the Schrober. I might be butchering her last name because she was not one of the groupies, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and they gave that the atmosphere, it was like you felt like you were witnessing something authentic, just the way they interacted with each other. And of course, I know you weren't in scenes with Frances McDormand, but boy, she was wonderful in this as the loving mom who is just not understanding the new generation,
Yeah, right. But, like all good moms, like still encouraging, her son to, go out and, she let him go to expand his journalism cred, you know what I mean? So
some of the humor in the movie was the reactions of people getting the phone calls from her.
I know, right? like the hotel, remember at the hotel scene where he's checking in? I just talked to your mom. She freaked me out, man, or whatever. Yeah.
And of course, moms are supposed to freak you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zoe Deschanel was great in this as Patrick's sister, the flight attendant. I love it when she's trying to sneak the Simon and Garfunkel vinyl in under her coat, and they talk about music versus poetry, and of course Simon Garfunkel definitely mirrors that.
Hey, have you ever heard her sing? She's got a great voice.
No, I don't.
She does a thing called excuse me, I think it's called She and Him. And they did this, they have a record, but they did this Christmas record. It's one of my favorite Christmas records, So,
oh wow.
Anyway, yeah, She and Him, I think is what their duo goes by. And LA based thing, but it's pretty cool. I like listening to it at Christmas.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
What did you think when this film was up for the Academy Awards?
What did I think? I was like, wow, this might take it to another place, Yeah. I was probably surprised, I think, a little bit. Because I'm not in the film business. I wasn't in the film business, so but I thought it was great. Yeah. Totally.
Well, you know what? You went on Cameron Crowe to do another film that I really enjoyed, Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a hard time understanding this film, but I kept going back to it. Like Mulholland Drive, it's one of
Oh,
those
right.
puzzles that you just keep going back to because it's so enticing, so compelling, so captivating, so intriguing, you know.
Hmm.
And I found myself really enjoying Vanilla Sky. I didn't have time to watch that last night, you know,
Right.
when I got back, but nonetheless, nonetheless, I still had this in my possession. Of course, I saw that in your credits when I
Yeah,
was
and that
looking.
and I was only in that for like a bathroom scene where we're making fun of Tom Cruise, and Cameron had we had finished. He went right into filming Vanilla Sky after Almost Famous, and I was at that time living out there in Los Angeles, and just gave us a call. It's asked us if he wanted to be in this in the Vanilla Sky, and I was like, of course, I'll come down there. So it was like a quick couple 2 days day of work. I think it was just a day of work going down there and hanging out, meeting
Mhm.
Tom Cruise and stuff and all that. But
I
yeah.
heard Tom Cruise is very approachable for autograph seekers, you know?
Hmm.
Yep. I know you hear the stories about him jumping up and down on Oprah's couch and whatnot, but the stories I hear, and I've interviewed a lot of people that's worked with him, whether it be risky business or
Hmm.
what have you, and I hear a lot of great things about Tom Cruise as a person. You know, what
Yeah.
was your interaction like with him?
He was totally approachable, shook my hand, and I was like, wow, he's almost as tall as me. He's not, he's not really tall. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's like, so he's cool. No, he was an approachable cat. He and Cameron have a good relationship and whatnot.
Hmm. Did you meet Cameron? Oh, you're talking about Cameron Crowe. I was thinking
Yeah, Cameron Crowe.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, right. Um, so I remember that being being totally cool vibe, man. So
You had a great cast in this. Cameron Diaz, Penelope Cruz, and of course
yeah,
Kurt Russell is in this.
yeah,
Speaking of
right,
Kurt
true,
Russell,
true.
yeah.
You
So
remember Escape from New York?
I've got it here.
Yeah, that
I've
was the
got it here
best.
on Blu-ray.
That's the best Kurt Russell film. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got it here in my collection here. So yeah, Kurt Russell is pretty cool. Um, Actually, Kurt Russell is so different in this film too, you know?
Yeah,
What
right.
a yeah, very different role for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Vanilla Sky was such an odd movie, you
You
know?
don't know if it's like a dream state. You don't know if it's life after death. That's my take on it. You just don't, you know, it's weird.
Yep.
All kind of like Matrix E,
Hmm.
too, I guess. There's some
Or Mulholland Drive,
right.
which is one of my favorite examples of that, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I went to this when it was in the theaters as well, you know?
Okay.
Yep. So I really enjoyed this film and love the twists and turns in it. And I think Cameron Crowe is a really good director. He did kind of go off the rails a little bit with Aloha, but you know what? I went to Aloha because I got a big crush on Emma Stone, so I
Okay.
still went to see it.
Yeah.
You know, Emma Stone will get me to any movie, you know.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I think maybe I think Jerry Maguire might be his pinnacle film. I don't know. What do you think?
Jerry Maguire was great, but I think his greatest achievement is Almost Famous in terms of
Okay,
being a
man.
director.
Okay.
Now,
Yep.
if you go overall, I mean, you know his story with Fast Times at Ridgemont High and his involvement with that. I'd
Yep.
put that up there as well, but that, of course, was Amy Heckerling. But in terms of films he directed, I say Almost Famous
Okay. All right.
because,
A lot of people would agree with you, probably.
well, Almost Famous, like I said, it's a film that hits me personally,
Yeah.
and the fact that it deals with the business in an honest way from a standpoint I would imagine he had experience with,
Absolutely.
because I think that the Miller character was a version of him.
Yeah, absolutely was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think he had a lot of insight into what to go with on this. And Almost Famous, like I said, that last scene in the movie, because journalists can be assholes. I love the fact that the journalist was not the asshole in this,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it exposes some reality,
Yeah.
and I think this was his best film.
Okay.
But there's been films he's done that didn't get good, like Elizabethtown. I didn't mind
Yep.
that.
Yep.
A lot
Right.
of people didn't like it. I didn't mind it, with Kirsten Dunst. But you also appear in, I did not see this film, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, Shop Girl with Steve Martin and
Yep.
Claire Danes.
Yeah. And in that film, it's funny. Mark, the director of that film, which I escapes, his name escapes me, but Mark got a call from that, and Mark again said, "Hey, you want to do this other thing with me?" And I'm like, "Of course." So I just played, a background musician drummer in that film too. But it's funny because I read the Steve Martin's novelette about Shop Girl, and I thought it was really good, man. I thought the book was really good, and I thought the film was really good too. So it's a good one. It's not up, not really happy. It's kind of not sad, but emotional. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I think that what makes good films, if it extracts that kind of feeling from somebody, and I think that's what makes a good director, a great screenplay. And
Yeah, that didn't come to our theaters, so
yeah,
so I kind of missed on that one. Yeah,
well, you can always rent it,
yeah, I
but it's
could. Yep,
good. Jason Schwartzman's in it, man,
yep.
and Claire Danes, and they're good actors, man. Those
Mm-hmm.
guys they know their craft.
Yep. So, how have you been keeping up with the whole pandemic thing? Did you get shell shock at home, or did you keep up practice?
Oh no, it was I love being at home, so I ended up not having any work, and then so I just obviously in my drum studio, doing drum tracks for people, okay, recording,
Mm-hmm.
um, keeping my chops up, practicing a lot. I actually enjoyed it because I was practicing probably, rehearsing and practicing in my studio and learning, hours a day, because, and then I started, started a side business where I'm building sound insulation
Mm-hmm.
panels, and now that's taking off a little bit. So it was
Mm-hmm.
all, I just tried to make the best of it, and it's been positive. I have to go after I get off the here. I got to go out into my garage and my shop and start finishing up some panels for a studio here in Vegas, and it's turning out great. I got a guy helping me and it
Mm-hmm.
installs, and it's turning into another side business. But I'd rather I would rather be on the road and playing and performing and stuff and doing all that, and I wanted to get back to normalcy, and it is slowly becoming that. I got a lot of work the rest of the year, um but you got to I'm always that guy that's going to try to figure out, oh, what am I going to do? That's all I've been doing my whole life. As a musician, you're always looking. It's like, okay, when this gig ends, I need to be able to make some money doing another gig. So I got to start searching or auditioning for another band or another project. You're always looking, so,
Do you
um,
have a favorite place you like to perform? Is like any city, any arenas, or one that stands out to you?
well, I did where does your, in Toronto, I played the arena there for a corporate event for like the Lions Club or something, and I don't know what arena it was, but I played it
I
with Mike.
should I, I
It's
should
like
know
where
that too.
the hockey, maybe where the hockey team plays.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know right off the top of my head, and I
but
should too.
but my experience in Toronto was great. I had a great time there. We were there an extra day, and I was able to, like, go out and get all, you guys have a lot of, different food there, and all that. So that was a fun gig. I like playing, I don't, smaller venues because you can see people, and you can interact with people a little bit better. You get a response, so lately we've been doing a lot of these performing arts centers, which are like, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see them while you're playing, and it's um, pretty cool places. There's one place in St. Charles, Illinois, out of Chicago. There's a
Mm-hmm.
place called the Arcada Theater.
Okay.
Great theater to play. That's one of my favorite places to perform at. So, but they're all good. They're all good as long as there's a drum kit. I could sit behind and start playing. It's all good for me.
I've interviewed 3 of the Blues Brothers on here, including Willie Hall, who was the drummer in that movie. Have you
Oh
met
yeah,
him?
yeah. I've never met him, but he was awesome. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I love that movie. I've interviewed 3 of the band on here from that movie, and Willie, of course, the drummer, and
Yeah,
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that music, like I said, helps really set the tone of a lot of movies, and I like it when music helps a movie as opposed to movies that just throw music in there for the sake of throwing music in there for a soundtrack.
oh, it's so important. It's so important. You got to have a music person on your crew that can be able to put a scene with the right stuff, with the right music, for sure.
Yeah,
It's very important.
yeah, because I mean, you often associate too, like the Bee Gees with Saturday Night Fever, or Simon and Garfunkel with The Graduate,
Absolutely.
and they
Absolutely.
really highlight the tone of those movies.
And the importance of Mrs. Robinson and that. And so, come on, dude, it just, yeah, it
Another
translates.
movie I got to bring up too, speaking of music, High Fidelity with John
Oh
Cusack.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Another one that
Great.
really played around with music well. You
Yep.
know,
Absolutely.
your shirt kid saying keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
That's
Is
right.
that, is that a motivator?
I got this T-shirt when I was back in Michigan this summer, and I was like, that speaks to me. And it was on sale for $5. How could I? How could I? So that's why I always tell my parents and stuff, because they're older, and I was like, gotta keep moving, gotta keep moving. And my girlfriend and I, we wake up every day and we walk 3 miles in the morning and come back home, and then you got to keep moving. You got to keep your joints moving. You got to keep your body moving. Plus, I'm a drummer, so I'm always moving. So
What does your girlfriend think of your one line and Almost Famous?
I don't know. She doesn't. I don't know. I got to ask her that. I've never asked her that. But Bridget and I have been together for 16 years, so it's. I say my girlfriend, but she's basically my wife. We've been together so long, so it's awesome. So
Yeah.
she
Well,
doesn't. She doesn't say too much about that.
well, you know what, Johnny? Before I let you go, do you have
Yeah,
any
man.
charities that you want to plug and promote on here, or a website that you want to plug
I
on
don't.
here?
I don't. I just. Maybe I should have known that. Maybe I don't know if anything. I mean, if people want to just look me up on Facebook and on the social media stuff, it's Johnny Fedevich,
Hmm.
and you can follow me. And I all I do on those is tell people where I'm performing at, or I show pictures of my drum kit, or I talk, stuff like that. Just fun stuff, not serious stuff. Not political stuff. I don't want to hear any of that. But
Yeah, I
um,
agree with you.
it's just about music, and that's what I do with social media. Just let people know when I'm performing and stuff, or where I'm performing. So if people are interested in me and that, they can just either find me on the social media stuff. So
That's what I use social media to
yeah,
with. I put my interviews on there, and
yeah.
yeah, and so I was doing this at our station on campus, and it just reopened.
Okay.
I used to do these by phone down there.
Yeah.
When I didn't have a way of doing this, I did 30 interviews in 2020 when the
Okay.
station went into lockdown,
Yeah.
and I had about 30 people waiting to come on the show,
Right.
and I had no way of doing it. And an actress had said to me, she said, "If I can do Zoom, you can do Zoom."
Yeah.
And my record right now is 2017. I did 128 interviews. I think I'm 6 away from matching that this year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Zoom has been so great because I don't have to call the station and ask if Studio B is free, because there's other programmers, of course, and I could just do this like this. And this has been like a gift. Whoever invented Zoom,
Yeah.
give them a prize,
No kidding. Yep. No
Yeah,
kidding.
because this has
Worked
been
out.
great. Yeah, but I have been delighted to have you on here,
Thank you,
and
Greg. I'm
yeah.
sorry it took me so long because you had tried to get a hold of me through Messenger, and then I was like, I didn't see it until later, and then I was like, oh, I got to get back hold of this guy. I don't want him to think I'm an idiot or an
You know
asshole.
what? Facebook filters messages. Speaking of music, have you seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
Yes.
Love
Yeah.
that movie. Well,
Yeah.
I interviewed the kid that played Nate, the one that gets
Okay.
halved.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, Chip Hermaz. I reached out to him during the anniversary of that film,
Okay.
and I didn't hear back until a year later.
Okay.
And he was very apologetic and said, "I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I missed this." And I said, "Yeah, well, come on now." I mean, I didn't care if it was the anniversary, and I had him on, and I've got him on Facebook, and I still had him on.
Right
I
on.
use the anniversary thing as kind of a pitch, like Vanilla Sky is celebrating its got to be what now, 20 years. Yeah, it's the 20th anniversary of Vanilla Sky.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Because it was just the 20 year for it Almost Famous as well. And that was
Yep.
right after that. Yep.
Yep. So I still had him on, and I find a lot of times messages get filtered, and I hear
Yeah.
the apologies, but I get it. I
Okay.
get
Cool.
it.
All
So
good.
I if you had gotten back to me next year, I would have still had you on.
It's all
I, I
good.
I was delighted to have you. I was stoked when you got back to me,
Thanks,
and
Greg.
yeah. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Just state your name and even state your involvement with Almost Famous, and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Greg Gilbert,
Yep.
Python's Paradise. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Go for
Hey,
it.
this is Johnny Fedevich, and Greg had me on to talk about Almost Famous and then talk about music. Thank you, Greg Gilbert from Python's Paradise. I really appreciate it.
Do you still have the little glasses from the film?
No, I don't have those. I don't know what I have. I got some memorabilia. I got all the vinyl record props. I got the whole Stillwater catalog on vinyl and stuff. I got some great posters too. So stuff like that.
I
Yeah.
would imagine, yeah. Well, Johnny, thank you so much for allowing me the honor of chatting with you today. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Greg. Anytime. Keep in touch, buddy.
I will keep in touch. And like I said, if you got new projects coming out and whatnot, the door is open here for
I'll
you.
pass them your way. Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. God bless you. And you have yourself a wonderful day.
You too. Cheers to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.